Two rose bushes, same variety, same nursery, planted the same weekend, just a few feet apart. Now it's midsummer, and one is a tall, leafy fountain pushing out flower after flower. The other is short, sparse, barely managing a bloom here and there. Same sun, same soil, same rain. So what happened? 7 things the strong bush got that the weak one never did. 7 small decisions that can double, even triple, how fast a rose grows. By the end of this video, you'll be able to look at any rose, including your own, and spot exactly which of these it's missing. And trick number 4 is going to feel completely wrong the first time you try it. It feels like you're hurting the plant. You're actually doing the opposite. Let's find out what the bigger bush knew. Trick 1. Planting depth. Before feeding, watering, or pruning, we go back to the day the rose went into the ground. One decision made that day quietly controls how it performs for years. Most roses are grafted. A flowering variety is joined onto a tougher rootstock, and the swollen bump where they meet is called the bud union. Planted sitting up high and exposed, and that joint dries out and bakes in the sun. A stressed union is slow to push new growth, so the plant spends its first year just struggling to establish. Plant it correctly, and the union stays protected, heals properly, and the plant pours its energy into growing instead of surviving. Here's the rule. In milder climates, the bud union sits right at the soil line. In colder regions, where winter temperatures regularly drop below freezing, bury it roughly 2 inches deeper. There's a bonus too. When the union sits a little deeper, the flowering variety above it often starts sending out its own roots over time. A rose growing on its own roots is usually tougher for the long haul. Planting depth isn't a small detail. It's the foundation every other trick is built on. Trick 2. Water the roots, not the leaves. Now the habit that quietly slows down more roses than anything else, how people water them. The instinct is to shower the whole plant, leaves included. It feels thorough. It's actually working against the rose 2 ways. First, a quick overhead spray only wets the top layer of soil. The roots never push downward, so you end up with a shallow root system that can't fuel fast growth. Water deeply instead, a slow soak straight at the base, letting moisture sink well down. Roses generally need 1 to 2 inches of water a week. Second, splashing water on the leaves creates the damp conditions black spot and mildew need. Leaves are solar panels. A rose with full foliage is photosynthesizing at full power. A rose that's lost half its leaves to disease has had that engine cut in half. Keep the hose at the base, keep the leaves dry, and if water does land on them, do it early in the morning. Trick 3. Feed it like the glutton. Ida's roses behave differently from most garden plants. Most plants resent heavy feeding. Roses are the opposite. A hungry rose simply cannot grow fast no matter what else you do. If your rose looks pale and stingy with blooms, it's probably underfed. Feed it on a rhythm, a balanced fertilizer as growth kicks off in spring. Then again after the first big flush of flowers fades, and stop feeding by late summer so the plant can harden off before winter, instead of pushing out tender growth right before the cold. But here's what most people have never heard of: alfalfa. Plain alfalfa meal or pellets, the same thing sold as livestock feed. Scratch a few handfuls into the soil or steep it in water to make a tea and pour that on. Alfalfa naturally contains a compound called triacontanol, which acts almost like a growth hormone. It triggers basal breaks, those thick new canes that shoot straight up from the base. A bush that throws several of these in a season can look like a different plant by autumn. Trick 4. To cake the flowers away from it. This is the one I told you to wait for. To make a rose grow faster and bloom more, you have to take its flowers away. Sometimes the very first blooms you've waited all year to see. A rose doesn't flower for your benefit. From the plant's point of view, a flower exists to get pollinated, fade, and form a seed pod called a hip. The moment a rose sets a hip, it gets a signal that the job is done for the year and growth winds down. So if spent flowers stay on the bush and turn into hips, you're telling the rose it can stop trying. Now flip it. Snip off each bloom the moment it fades, cutting back to a healthy set of leaves before a hip can form, and the plant never gets that stop signal. It stays in growth mode and keeps pushing fresh canes and new flowers. That's why regular deadheading makes a rose bloom in waves all season. For a young rose, some growers go further and pinch off the buds before they even open, sacrificing the blooms entirely. Every bit of energy goes straight into roots and structure instead. You give up one season, and in return you get a vigorous plant that outgrows its neighbors for years. It feels backwards right up until you watch the plant respond. Tyrek 5, prune, harder feels comfortable. Being too gentle with the pruners is one of the most common ways people hold their roses back. A timid trim, just nipping the tips, sends a weak signal. The plant responds with thin, twiggy growth because a soft cut produces a soft response. Roses are built to handle hard pruning. A bold cut concentrates the root system's stored energy into far fewer growing points, and the plant answers with thick, fast new shoots. In late winter or early spring, before the plant fully wakes, prune with intention. Removing a substantial portion of last year's growth is normal, not excessive. Always cut just above a bud facing outward, away from the center. That bud grows outward, opening the bush into a shape that lets light reach in and air move through, keeping the foliage dry. Clear out anything dead, anything thinner than a pencil, and branches that cross. The rose isn't asking you to be cautious, it's asking you to be decisive. Tyrek 6. The mine error most people forget. This one is small, cheap, and surprisingly effective. The fix is magnesium, and the easiest source is plain Epsom salt. A spoonful or two worked into the soil in spring or dissolved in water and poured on can make a visible difference. Magnesium sits at the center of every chlorophyll molecule, the pigment that lets leaves capture sunlight. When a rose is short on it, all the leaves often turn yellow between the veins while the veins stay green. A rose with pale leaves is running its solar panels at reduced power. Top up the magnesium and the foliage greens back up. Photosynthesis ramps up and growth follows. Pair it with the alfalfa in spring and you're giving the plant nearly everything it needs to push fresh growth from the ground up. Trick 7. What happens beneath the soil? The last trick is about everything happening below the surface, where the real growth race is decided. Rose roots want even moisture and a steady, cool temperature. Bare soil gives them neither. It heats up fast, bakes dry in a heat wave, then floods after rain. Every swing is a small shock, and a shocked root system keeps pausing its growth. The fix is mulch. Spread 2 to 3 inches of organic mulch, compost, bark, or leaf mold around the base, keeping it pulled back an inch from the canes. That mulch insulates the roots, holds moisture steady, smothers weeds, and slowly feeds the soil underneath. In colder climates, mounding extra mulch over the base heading into winter protects the bud union from hard frost. Roses also do best with morning sun. Early light dries the overnight dew off the leaves quickly, and dry foliage is far less likely to fall to black spot. Calm, cool, evenly fed roots under mulch with morning sun overhead. That's a rose with nothing left holding it back. So let's go back to those 2 bushes from the start. Now you know what separated them. Every trick points back to the same idea. Give a rose the fuel and the signals it's asking for, and get out of its way. The bigger bush was planted at the right depth, watered deep at the roots with dry leaves, fed generously with alfalfa, had its flowers taken before they could set hips, was pruned hard and open, got a magnesium boost, and had its roots protected under mulch. The smaller bush never got any of that. Apply even a handful of these to your own roses and you'll genuinely see the difference. Taller, fuller plants pushing out flush after flush of blooms. Which of these 7 were you getting wrong? For most people, it's the watering or the overly gentle pruning. Tell me in the comments which trick you're trying first. I read every single one. If this helped, take a second and subscribe. There's more practical gardening content coming your way. Thanks for watching. Go be a little braver with those roses. I'll see you in the next one.